So leveraging and hiring the right people is the key to, in my opinion, enjoying life and actually being able to do things.
Welcome back to another episode, and today we've got my co-host Mark Rader. What's up, Mark?
What's up, everyone? How we doing? You get double hands today. Woo! Like a roller coaster.
My friend and also an associate on the team. So thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And we've got Luigi Caprio. Luigi, it's been like 3 years. So LCA Live in Coronado since we last talked, which Mark was there.
Right.
Yep. That was a good time.
Mark was the DJ. He was running everything.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to try the double hand thing. So, yeah, I was able to do
Woo!
Look, no hands. Look, no hands. Crazy. All right, Luigi, let's get this going. You're a coach. You're a consultant. You've been in business for a long time. Let's talk about leverage, though, because I think that's one thing that we forget as real estate agents, because, we think we can do everything on our own, or if we delegate it out, we think, well, they're not going to do it like we do it, right? But that, in essence, is what really is holding people back from growth, from scaling, from being able to actually run a real business. So, Luigi, what's your experience with delegation and hiring staff, whether they're in-house or virtual assistants?
Okay, well, yeah. So my motto that I have is I do real estate to enjoy life. Real estate is not my life. And basically, the key behind that is that I don't feel I have to be in the office doing everything, because all that does is take me away from what I call that red time. All that does is take me away from being productive, right? So I've been, for the past 12, 13, 14 years, I've always had a full staff. Meaning I could get on a plane, fly away for 2 or 3 weeks, never check in, and I come back and my business is still running.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's my motto. Because I've owned several businesses, and there was a time where I just said, I'm going to work hard, and then when I get older, I'm going to be able to retire, this or that, and then I got sick, real sick, and then I realized if I would have died, I would have not enjoyed my family and life. So that's kind of when I changed everything. Mm. So I've always had staff, and I've always had people running my business. One thing, a model is like, when you're hiring somebody, I don't hire assistants. And I always laugh because all these agents, I have an assistant. What an assistant means is that somebody who supports you, signs your shoes, change the cat litter, right? That's not somebody who's going to run your business for you. So leveraging and hiring the right people is the key to, in my opinion, enjoying life and actually being able to do things.
Even, Luigi, even at the cost of making less money initially?
The cost of making less money? No, I make more money because I actually spend more time I call it the green time. I spend more time in the arena of actually making business and calling and whatnot. I've been this going on 34 years, so realized back in the 90s, it was picking up the phone and calling, right? That was we didn't have social media and all this stuff. But even then, I was on the phone instead of running my business because I always had staff running my business. So I was always bringing in business. So I was kind of in the 90s, a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I could always bring in business, right? Yeah. As long as I could pick up the phone. So as far as staff is like, if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, okay, Luigi, I have this REO account or whatever, and I have 50 assets. Can you handle them?" You know what? I would say, "Yeah, not a problem," because I know in my mind I can go out and get the people and staff to handle the 50 transactions.
Mm-hmm. Luigi, I got Oh,
realize a lot of this is, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No. Actually, please finish. I was just going to ask you a question as soon as you were done with what you were saying.
Go ahead. Let's question.
I'm really curious, and I'm sure some of the listeners are as well. What are three things? I know there's lots of things. What are three things that you look for in a staff member, in someone that you're going to hire? I know you don't hire assistants, but what are three major elements you look for? The big three.
Well, attitude is always the number one thing, and then realize I also on my coaching I actually specialize in building teams, putting the right people in the right place. So I'm an old Keller Williams agent. I used to be with him for like 12 years. So guess what? I got really good on the DISC profile. So anybody I interview, anybody I hire, doesn't matter. And anybody I'm coaching who they're going to hire, it's mandatory that they get their DISC profile. So we know what this person's like, what their behavior's like. I was on a coaching call just before this, and this one client has this person who's, I mean, she's selling 5-6 deals a year. Her average price is $1.5 million, and she can't do paperwork. She can't figure out anything. I said, yeah. So she's a high I. She's great. She gets a rapport naturally. So you have to be able to have back and support to support her, because that's never going to be her deal. She's never going to be that paperwork person, the contract, to dot the I's and cross the T's, right? And so don't expect that. A term I use is, so you have a fish in the water and you're asking her to climb a tree.
That would be weird, wouldn't it?
That's
so.
Attitude,
DISC.
What's that?
So attitude.
Attitude and DISC are the two most of the things I look at.
Wonderful.
Now, of course, if you go into, I think we've talked about virtual assistants, right? Then you get into a lot of other things. I've been using virtual assistants for 12, 13 years, right? And basically, the great thing about when you're using a virtual assistant is that tasks are being done. There's somebody there always working, making sure the red time is being done and being covered, right? So, let me tell you, it's a lot easier now bringing in virtual assistants than it was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's come a long ways, guys. You can go on and get a virtual assistant for just about anything now. Social media, whatever, they're out there. So it's so much easier to actually bring on virtual assistants. Now, the other side of bringing on virtual assistants is a lot of people don't like working with overseas people, right? So believe it or not, there's a lot of time you don't have to go overseas. I had a client in Georgia who lives in north of Atlanta, right? And which is a higher end price point, right? And the company he worked for had offices all over. So basically, we went to the southeast part of Georgia, which the cost of living is like a lot less, like a quarter of what it is in northern Georgia. And so we're actually able to bring on a office manager at like $12 an hour. And they're happy as can be, right? Because that fits in their area of where they live and what the average wage is.
Right.
So you don't always have to go overseas to actually get a virtual assistant. My accountant, the person who pays all my bills and invoices is in New Jersey, right? So yeah, you don't have to just look in your marketplace, right? And nowadays, the thing of it is everything nowadays is online, on the computer, right? You don't have to go to an office, correct? So like, my office manager is nowhere around where I live. And my bookkeeper's nowhere around where I live, right? Because you don't need to. And you can find better people.
Well, I
right?
think
You can find somebody who specializes it.
Luigi, it became a lot easier right after COVID when everyone shifted to a different mindset and saying, well, I guess we can't meet. Let's figure this crap out. Right. And so
Right.
that alone changed the mindset of the world. So now, dude, we can work from anywhere. And now a virtual assistant isn't just from one or two countries. They're from every country.
Exactly. And that's a great point. COVID has definitely, I mean, I wish I would have bought stock in Zoom before COVID.
I wish I would have created Zoom, Luigi. Come on.
No, but that's true. People are kind of forced into it and are realizing that you don't have to have somebody sitting next to you, right? Like I could go talk to my office manager right now on Skype. Actually, I didn't bring him up, but he's in my whole day conversation, phone calls, everything, because he can hear me talk to other people, and I'm always on speaker to where he's always hearing both sides and whatnot. So the computer is great. I mean, as far as communication and being able to be in contact with everybody. And so, yeah, it's just 1,000%. You don't have to have your staff in the office with you.
Luigi, this question comes up sometimes, and it really plays into the training VAs, virtual assistants. So people are kind of wondering, how do you go about training virtual assistants? What does your process look like?
A lot of work. No, it takes a lot of time, and people don't realize it. You have virtual assistants from, as Tristan said, all different parts of the country, of the world, right? And so a lot of different parts of the world that, like, India is really good on the tech side, right? But they're not a virtual assistant that I would use who called my clients. Only because that stigma of the accent, they just automatically get turned off, right? Yeah. So virtual assistants that I use that usually talk to my clients, I get from the Philippines, because the English is actually one of their main languages. So it's not hard for them to actually speak to your clients. Now, as I said, every area's got specialties. Like the Ukraine actually has good VA people. I don't know what's going to be like now, but you know what I'm saying. So you can just about go anywhere in the world and find people to work as a VA and work. But now it's to the point. Now it's to the point where there's so many specialties out there. And to answer your point, Mark, find somebody who already knows what you want them to do, how to do it. To bring somebody on and train them from the very beginning it takes a lot of work.
Sure.
Right. It takes a lot of time. You don't have to necessarily bring somebody on and have to train them unless you're a control freak. But my thing is, if they can do 80% as good as I can do it, they can do it. And in fact, in all honesty, I am not the dot I and cross T's type person. I have to have an office staff because I am not the detailed person at all. That makes sense.
And Luigi, do you typically go when you're hiring? Do you typically go out and hire your weakness first or your strength? So, like, if you're great at, let's say, prospecting, would you hire another prospecting person? Or if you're terrible at paperwork, would you hire somebody to help you with the paperwork? What would your strategy be on that?
Great question. You hire your weakest. You're not looking to make yourself strong and your weak point. You don't need to spend the time doing that. You hire somebody who's strong in the areas that you're weak. And here's the thing. The word assistant I just hate, because it's the most disempowering word in the world to me, to have somebody and you call them an assistant. So I bring people in that are going to do where I'm not strong at. I'm not a good transaction coordinator. I'm not a good follow up and make sure this gets done and that gets done. I put people in that place to do that. To the point of actually one gal, Debbie Hosapple, she was so good that she would get the flowers and candies and stuff when we'd close escrows.
Wow.
She made sure everybody was taken care of, right? And people knew not to call me because I'd have to call her, right? And that's something is that when you're setting up your VA and your staff, you want your clients and stuff to know to go to the right person to get the right answers for what they want. You don't want them calling your cell number asking you questions, because I'm talking about on an ongoing transaction, right? They don't need to be calling you because you're not the one actually handling it, right? Mm-hmm. They need to know I need to call this person because they're going to be able to give me the answer. I can call Luigi and he's not going to know diddly.
You know, you mentioned something there, Luigi, that I think is really important that we can easily overlook. And that's in hiring your weakness first.
Right.
But then as you hire to your weaknesses, then you start reinforcing your staff with those things that you're amazing at, because then it starts helping you grow because you're already great at that. So it's going to be easier for you to train on the things that you're amazing at. So
right.
I think you stack on it. But it starts with your weaknesses. You're right. Because then they can help you focus on the things that you're great at.
Right. Well, to free you up, I always go into the green time, the red time, and the blue time.
Yeah.
Right. So my objective, the first thing is when I'm building a team is to get that red time filled. So that lead agent and those agents don't have to worry about that. They can spend time being productive in the green area, bringing in more business. You bring on a VA who knows what they're doing and they're running your business. That's a ROI. That brings in a profit. It's a profit center, whether they're a VA or go ahead.
It's only a profit center if you train them right.
You have to hire the right people. You have to make sure that they know what they're doing. You have to, like one of the biggest mistakes agent makes when they first started hiring VAs, it's not as bad now, but they would hire VAs and basically the question would be, what tasks do you need to have done? And what that comes down to is they're great and they'll do that data entry and they'll do that task, but when they're done, they look at the walls. Yeah. They don't go on to the next thing. They don't think past what that one task is. And that's probably one of the big mistakes that a lot of agents make when they bring somebody on.
So how do you find somebody that can think a little bit more into what needs to be done? Because at the beginning, I'm assuming that they won't know what to do because they don't know enough of your business. But as they get accustomed to, I'm assuming they'll get better, right?
Oh yeah. My office manager, I trained from scratch. Okay. Right. So I spent the time and effort and a lot of onboarding, let's put it that way. But now I don't worry about it because I know he knows what to do. Right. But he's able to think. I used to hire a lot of people out of the Philippines and they all have college degrees, right? Mm-hmm. And I've learned to ask them, in what? And they'll say, nursing. Okay, this is somebody I don't want. They're really good and caring and whatnot, right? But they're the culture when you're hiring out of the Philippines, the culture is like you don't go to your boss and suggest a different way of doing something. You never question it. You just always is submissive, right? Yeah. So that's really a problem because I had to train my staff and people that, listen, when you walk in the doors, because I would actually have an office that they would have to go to. When you walk in the doors, you're in America. You don't speak your language. You speak English, right? So basically, what point am I trying to bring out here is that I don't even know.
Well, I think the point is that you wanted to understand what they were saying, right? So obviously they're not going to speak a different language if you don't understand it, right? Right.
They have to speak English. We're dealing with all the different cultures. You go to the India, and they're like all these, right? They want to run everything and do the way that they want to do it. right?
Well,
So
I have a question about that because it's a question from an attendee. When hiring a virtual assistant, do you prefer someone who's been doing it for a while? So, something that they have experience with, or do you prefer teaching them from scratch?
I'm always going for the experience now. As I said in the beginning, training, great, training this and get them to do this and that. And you're talking a lot of onboarding. You're talking a lot of your time training and training and training. As I said, 14 years ago, 13 years ago, yeah, you literally had to train. Nowadays, guys, there are so many people out there who specialize on social media and Facebook and Google and entering your data and whatever. There's so many people out there that have the specialties now, and especially in the Philippines, that you didn't have that back then. So to answer your question, why would you hire somebody you had to train when you can find somebody who already knows what they're doing?
So, well, look, Luigi, this is why I always tell people when they ask, well, where do you get your people? I go to Virtudesk because they put out ads and saying, hey, look, we need somebody who's specifically trained in this. And then they go in and train them as well. So,
yeah,
we just hired.
Daniel Ramsey?
No, Virtudesk is why Pavel.
Okay.
Daniel runs another company that's not as great as Virtudesk. So,
okay. Yeah, his that one. Yeah, we should talk. All of his people work out of their house.
Yeah,
so, I like it when they go in. See, but here's the thing: is that there's a lot of companies out there now who actually train their VAs, so you don't have to train them, or you say what you want, and they get you that person, and they actually train them and test them, right? So going through Virtudesk is actually a lot easier than bringing on somebody like I do and train them per se.
Yeah.
So no, I would definitely do that. It costs a little bit more, right? Yeah. So it costs more when you're going through a company, but that's okay. It's worth it because it's saving you time. And you're getting your tasks done that need to be done, so you can spend your time bringing in the green time.
And look, you don't have to worry about paying anyone directly into whatever country. You pay an American country, and you can write it off as a marketing expense. At least that's what we do, right? Look, you go in here, Virtudesk services, admin assistant, prospecting, executive admin, transaction, customer service, marketing service, which includes social media, right? And then time block services if you want to hire someone just off of a project. So that's where we typically go. We get that question all the time, Luigi. That's why I brought it up. All right, Mark. Anything you have to throw in here? We've got 3 minutes, buddy.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. So on your DISC assessment, is there a certain personality trait that you look for in the DISC assessment? I know you said not so much the D profile, but what other profiles do you look for?
Well, ISAs, I'm always looking for the DIID. Okay, when I do an ISAs, when I'm looking at the admin side, running the office, whatever, I'm usually looking at the FCCS. Okay. I would never hire, I wouldn't say never, but if somebody's a really high I usually would not bring them on as admin, doing paperwork and making sure things are being done, because they just love to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Talk.
Yeah.
Talk.
Makes sense. They talk instead of actually getting things done.
Yeah.
Unless they're supposed to talk and be on the phone, right?
Yeah. Well,
that's a good placement.
You walk by and they're talking to a client. They're going, "Oh yeah, I called to check to see if you have flyers and stuff." 20 minutes later, you walk back by and you hear, "Oh yeah, my dog does that too."
Yeah.
They never get off the phone. They just love to talk.
That's funny.
Right. So bottom line, there's a lot of, like going through Virtudesk, it definitely makes it a lot less painful. And they they monitor the people for you, right? So you actually have somebody monitor them and making sure that they're doing their job. And guess what? That they show up to work.
That's always a good sign.
That's true, buddy. Very true. Very true. Well, Luigi, how do we get a hold of you if we have any questions? If people want to go deeper into how you hire, where can we get a hold of you typically?
Probably, let's see, probably not through the business email. So luigicoach@gmail.com. LUIGI coach@gmail.com.
All right. I like that. And Mark, how do we get a hold of you, buddy?
You get a hold of me through the LCA community, or you can also get a hold of me at
Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram. It's Sir Marcus. It's Sir Marcus. You can do that. I'll leave it in the chat.
And then we can watch you DJ at night.
Yes, if you're bored, you can watch that.
We can watch DJ. We can watch Mark DJ. We can watch Luigi on his walnut farm.
That actually sounds kind of cool. I would actually like to see that.
Well, a little thing about walnuts, there's male and female trees, right?
Whoa, I didn't know. That's too much information, Luigi. Come on.
Well, it even gets worse. The male tree's nuts are smaller than the female. That's how you can tell the difference.
And with that, we're signing off. Go sign up.
With that, in closing,
Luigi, thanks for being on. Thank you, everybody, for
Bye,
watching.
guys. Have a great one.